Wow, I just love that video. I'm not sure why. Is it because I made it? Is it the music? Is it the diving in the water? I mean, I think it's like life. We dive in. Hey, my name is Jeff Harrison, and Reverend Charles Hall will be joining us in a moment. But we were talking a little bit beforehand, and we tend to talk a little bit before that, and I can't wait for him to dive into today's topic because it's exciting. I'm watching in the green room. He's somewhere in there. He's left the camera, but he's going to come back. But do us a favor today. This is an interactive show, meaning, hey, when you participate and you share your thoughts and your ideas and responses to how what Reverend Charles is talking about, it only adds to the value of the conversation. You're like that person who is now the co-star and makes that movie a hit. So make sure to get involved. I'll watch the comments and hey, there he is. He's back. It looks like, yep, he's looking good. So here we go. Hey, good morning, Reverend Charles. How you doing?
Hey, there's Ed, Jeff Ed Harrison, our man at Swing Point Media. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Nice to see you this morning. You're looking chipper.
Thank you. I feel good. Yeah. Got some family in town, having some fun this weekend. And yeah, it's a good day. You mentioned that we always, when we get on early, we have a little preliminary chat. What's going on today? How are you? We talked about, you actually had a very fascinating way of talking about, we're talking about fulfillment today, gang. We're talking about knowing that life responds to us. And of course, hi, I just want to, Charles Hall, Life on Love. It's Friday. That means it's Life on Love. But I wanted to, before we get into the real content of the day, I wanted to have Jeff kind of speak to what you were speaking to with me back in the green room about relationships and relationship winter and the opportunities that we have during this COVID time and use the metaphor of the garden and things like that. Will you just share with me what you were sharing? I think it's powerful for our community out here.
Yeah, I think as we talk about this, it's like there is a season of life, and maybe we think of if we look at this whole pandemic thing, it could be the winter of life. And winter isn't always a bad thing. What winter does is it tends to, cover up plants or weeds, things that are not productive for our system. And then when the spring thaw comes, we have that green lawn. We have less things in our life that are cluttered. So the way we were talking about this in a relationship situation, and I don't mean this disrespectful to anyone, but sometimes this whole COVID thing and keeping our distance has made us stop and think, wow, is this person the Roundup or the miracle grow in my life? Because we become the 5 people we hang around most. And if you look and say, wow, every time I go over there and I share an idea or I got an enthusiasm, the question I want you to ask is that person a Roundup or is it a miracle grow to my idea, my support? If they're Roundup all the time, they're killing your creativity, your enthusiasm. So it might be one of those things where you say, hey, I want to consider moving those people out of my life, and it can't be a better time than right now during a time where we have to keep our social distancing and we're not going out with friends and things of that nature. So I tend to see that the glass is half full. I try to see it all the time that way. And I think this is one of those times where it could be really a great opportunity for us to really take that time and say, let me really look at my friends and the people I hang around with. And are they really the ones I want to aspire to be like?
Yeah. And I keep coming back to one of the principles in recovery sometimes, the idea of taking an inventory. What's happening in my life? How are things going? And I know we're kind of starting things off this morning, gang, on based on a conversation that you guys weren't privy to before we came live here. But it's an interesting point that to take an inventory or consider all the way around in your life, what's serving you, what's fanning the flame of your passions and your expression and your love, or what's dampering it, to use another metaphor. What's working for you and what's not working for you. And to really explore that and consider during this time, because we have time to reflect, don't we, Jeff? I mean, we've got plenty of time right now I know we know that you wake up at 4:30, whatever it is, dark time. and you start writing and have your communion time with your heart and your soul, and those times to reflect. But we could do that throughout the day. Where are you in life right now? What is working for you? Take some time daily to just take that inventory, or to consider, where am I? What's working for me? What isn't? And is there a tough conversation I need to have? This relationship, or this, either with somebody else or with yourself. This relationship is working for me, or it's not. This way of eating is working for me, or it's not. The lack of exercise, or am I exercising? I'm so grateful. Jeff, can speak to this as well. I recently was invited and participating now in a pickleball club, which I just absolutely love. And there's something about getting out there, meeting new people, exercising, having some fun, laughing, mixing it up a little bit, socially distanced, the whole nine, masks, all that kind of stuff. But I would have not envisioned myself joining a pickleball club even 2 months ago. But it's through those people that we meet, those empowered relationships, those individuals that want to invite us into a greater way of being and expressing, and more powerful relationships, that I found myself now I'm part of a pickleball club. Is that aging? I mean, is that, but by the way, I hear it's we've already talked about this, Jeff, come on back for a second. Fastest growing sport in the country. Is that right?
It is. It's very fast. And here's the thing that I thought was really interesting. One is, and it is true, you are an athlete, and you are quite loud on the pickleball court. So that's kind of fun. And because you bring that younger energy, it tends to be an older person's sport. Now, when I think older person, I don't think of myself as older person, but it's probably a 55 and older, and you're much younger than that. So you're kind of a kid in amongst the group. And, it's a very fast growing sport, because it's easy to pick up and start playing. You don't have to spend hours and hours like golf, learning how to get the ball in the air. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. So anyway, that's just taking inventory, considering, where are things in your life right now? What's working for you? What isn't working for you? And are you thinking about it? Are you really considering it? Tracy Vanderwees, I was surprised. I enjoyed pickleball as well. Yeah. Well, I was surprised too. Someone just said, "Hey, why don't you?" I was. Why don't you join? And then and then Jeff walked me over to the what do you call it, the shop, and said. And here's an interesting part of that. I think we're way off topic at this point, but I just want to share this. I hesitated and stopped when Jeff was walking me over to sign me up. I said, "Hold on, let me just think about this for a second." And I did a quick little, just kind of an inventory, like, am I going to do this? If I sign up and pay the money, I'm actually going to do it. Will I get over any of my insecurities about meeting new people and participating in a new sport that I haven't played before? And I don't know if you remember this, Jeff, but I took about a minute. I just kind of did that. And then we went and signed up and had a great conversation with the gal that's the leader of the club there, and signed up, and now I'm taking advantage of it. But that's an interesting point as well, as long as we're going down this rabbit hole a little bit. I actually had to get over myself, and it took about a minute to get over myself to try something new in this COVID winter, if you want to call it, to actually consider, do I want to jump into this new thing and meet a new group of people and be vulnerable and share who I am? That can be challenging sometimes.
Well, you talk about that, and I apologize for getting us way off track, but
it's life on love, baby. It's life on love.
Yeah. It's one of those things where there's so many times that voice in our head talks us out of things that we regret we didn't do. Yep. And unfortunately, it could be weeks or months or years later when maybe now you're not in the position to do that, versus saying, I'm going to go down that road, and I'm going to be as open-minded as possible to accept all the things that are coming in, because this door would not have opened unless I was supposed to walk through it. Wow. How would that mindset change things?
Love it. And that actually is a perfect segue. There's Jeff. Ed, thank you for coming off the couch. That's a perfect segue and he's out of here. He's out of here. By the way, nice blazer. The blazer looks awesome. Perfect segue in what I want to share from Ernest Holmes with you all today. Tracy, yes. And the title of his essay today for Life on Love, and if I haven't done a proper intro, I know I said a little bit. This is Life on Love. I'm Reverend Charles Hall, coming to you live from the global headquarters of Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert, right here on the grounds, right here in the office. It's a beautiful winter day in the desert, Coachella Valley. Wherever you are, welcome. So glad you're here. My heart is with you. I, like Jeff mentioned at the beginning, really want to hear you weigh in. How are things? What's happening? How do you relate to the material we're going to present today? And just on every Friday, very, very grateful to be with you and share my ideas and thoughts on the spiritual path, spiritual growth, all the things that we're up to in the path of self-discovery and awakening, and the struggles too, you know, and the challenges that we face as we're waking up. You know, the things that we've talked about as far as letting go of things, it's hard to let go. It's hard to make relationship changes. It's challenging. It's difficult. It's extraordinary, the path that we walk. To be a human being with your heart open, a willingness to grow, express yourself, and be authentic can take some courage. It oftentimes takes courage. You know, I think about the, what do I call it? The playground mentality. I don't really call it anything. It's just something I'm aware of. Like the playground mentality. Kids on the playground. I think about the playground that I grew up with. You know, I went to a private Catholic school. Well, actually, all the way from first grade to graduating high school. But I think about my grade school, first through eighth grade, and the friends that I grew up with over those 8 years. We could be cruel to each other sometimes. The things that we would say to each other. We were like the best of friends, the worst of friends. And I think about that, and I think about how that shows up in my life as an adult. That I want to be more peaceful and kind and generous and generative and loving. And those conversations sometimes within myself where I feel divisive and think of others rather than that oneness or that unity. And it's an interesting challenge to walk. It takes courage to be a human being with your heart open, to be willing to be ourselves and invite other people to be themselves, to share who they are, and be willing to see that, appreciate it, acknowledge it. So I know, Jeff, I said however long, 5 minutes ago, Jeff had the perfect segue. I do want to jump into the words of Ernest Holmes right now. I want to unpack it. I want to share it with you, and I want you to share with me. So let's get into it. Okay, here we go. Let me know you're out there. I'm loving on you. So today's essay is entitled, I Know That Life Responds to Me. The scriptural passage is from Isaiah. The desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose. Now, we could just take that scripture and unpack it for a while. I mean, I live in the desert, and I can tell you right now, the desert is responding. It is in all of its majesty and all of its glory right now. My cousin's here for the first time, came down from the Northwest. He works on the front lines. He's in his hospital. He's a nurse. And I told him, he got in last night after the sun was down, but I said, wait till you wake up tomorrow, cousin. I open my door, I open my windows, and the first thing I see are the mountains. And right now they're snow-capped and they're beautiful. And just wait to see the majesty of the mountains right here in the desert. And he told me when we woke up this morning, he said, I saw it. I actually went and sat out. He got up before me at, I don't know what time he was up. He's up at Jeff time, 4:30, something like that, with his body clock. He went and sat on the porch for a while and just watched the sunrise. So cool. It's beautiful. The desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose. It goes back to what we were talking about, actually, too. Normally, when we think about the desert, we think about things that are desolate or dying or dead. There's not much life there. So if we want to think about it that way, you can think about it as far as your life. Are there parts of your life that are dead that you're clinging to? And what the scripture's saying is the desert will rejoice in other words, it will be transformed into possibility. It will be transformed into life. It will be transformed into that which is life-giving and blossom as the rose. So when we're taking this inventory, when we're considering what's happening in our lives, what Donna, good morning to you. Good, glorious morning. Good, glorious morning to all of us. Absolutely. When you're considering the places in your life that you might think as a desert, the nurturing, the watering, the beauty of spiritual truth can turn that desert of your life into a blossoming rose, into something magnificent and beautiful that's growing and thriving. Here we go. I'm going to get into the actual essay now. Ernest Holmes. The law of life operates through your affirmation. Nothing can hinder its working but yourself. There's a lot to talk about here. There is no more of it on the desert than there is on the busiest street corner. And it will not respond any more quickly because we go up into a temple. It is everywhere. Therefore, it is where you are. And most of all, it responds where you recognize it. Remember, we're talking about the law of life, the law of co-respondence. The word that I speak, life responds to me. That invisible, well, what Ernest Holmes calls the law of life, or the great law. That which we happen to life, let me say it this way. We happen to life long before life happens to us. So if we think that life is happening to us, it's important to understand that we set something in motion based on our affirmation, the way that we're thinking, the way that we're living, the way that we're putting our foot forward. Are we expecting good? Are we expecting beauty? Are we expecting life-giving relationships? Are we expecting kindness? And are we being kind? Are we putting forth love? That's what I mean. Life happens to us after. We happen to life, and then life responds to us. We engage with it in our behavior, in our thinking, in our feeling, in our heart space, whether we're feeling constricted or whether we're feeling open and available. This is the law of life. This is us sharing ourselves. We happen to life long before life happens to us. Maggie, yes, I shifted some thinking last week and amazing things have started happening. That's it. Plus, we start seeing things differently. Even the stuff, Maggie, as we shift our thinking, we actually perceive things differently because we're thinking differently. We could be in the exact same situation and perceive it differently because we've rearranged ourselves. We've transformed our thinking. We've transformed our beingness. We've transformed how we meet life. And how we want to meet life is affirmatively, with love, with kindness, with goodness, with generosity, all of those words. You know, sometimes what I do is I find a word and then I pull out one of the apps that I use most on my phone is dictionary.com, or the dictionary app. Looking up words and then also using the thesaurus to see what other words mean roughly the same thing. I would encourage you today to use a thesaurus, look up a word that is life-giving, generative, and find all the words that correspond to that. Expand your vocabulary for life-giving words. Expand your vocabulary for affirmation. Expand your vocabulary about possibility. It's a great assignment. I'm gonna keep doing. I invite you into that. Okay, we're gonna keep going. 2 more paragraphs here. Your recognition makes possible its response through you. Remember, we're talking about the law of life. We're talking about correspondence. We're talking about life responding to you as you put your best foot forward. Well, it's not as you put whatever foot forward, whatever foot you put forward, trust that life is going to meet you back in that way. That is the law of correspondence. Your recognition makes possible its response through you. This is the secret of faith. That's another word for it, faith. Faith is the supreme affirmation. Yes, Maggie, absolutely. I started focusing on source. Yes. Faith is the supreme affirmation. It is the unconditioned affirmation. It is the affirmation that makes all things possible to the one who believes in the power of God, the power of good. Know that nothing can hinder you but yourself. He's saying it again. If you believe you can, you can. Now, I love this. I love this. And I want to remind us that these words were written, well, we're coming up on, almost 100 years ago, 80 years ago, 70, 80, 90 years ago. And then they've been reconceived and repositioned over the course of that time through, new thought, through pop culture, through all sorts of things. But if you believe you can, Ernest Holmes says. You cannot fail if you start with the proposition that life, capital L, he puts in here, that life is all there is. Life is possibility. Life is abundance. Life is potential. Life is grand. Life is big. Life is, see, this is where the thesaurus comes into play. That life, capital L, life is all there is. It is the substance of every form. As the invisible, it is cause. As the visible, it is effect. As the invisible, it is cause. As the visible, it is effect. First in heaven, and I'm pointing up, but heaven's not up there. Heaven's here. First in heaven, then on earth. First in the invisible, then in the visible. You are a walking, living, breathing, human, divine, beautiful, magnificent, extraordinary cause. You are cause. So then we must understand that just based in principle, what we see in effect and experience in effect, we must know that the ingredient that brought that about, the recipe, is cause. Right? If you're going to make a homemade pot pie, you know the ingredients you're putting in there. You're very intentional about it. You're cutting up the carrots. You've got a chicken. You're getting the chicken breast going, whatever your thing is. Some carrots, some potatoes, some, whatever else you're putting in there. You put that in the oven. That's your cause right there. It would be crazy to think that I'm going to put a pot pie into the oven to cook for an hour and 10 minutes and expect to pull out a pizza. But somehow we're still baffled that if we move through life with thoughts of limitation, thoughts of poverty, thoughts of not enough, that we expect there to be plenty or fulfillment. We must put into the oven that is the law of life that, thank you, Jeff. I love how you do that. We must put in, the oven is the law. What you put in there, you will get out of there. That is why it's so important. Before we came on live today, Jeff and I were also talking, he might have alluded to it as well, the garden, the idea of a garden. It's why it's so important to tend to the garden of our mind, to tend to the garden of our soul, to tend to the garden of our heart space, tend to the garden of our feeling. What recipe are you making today that you're putting into that oven that is the law of life, that then you must expect that same thing to come back out, or it's insanity. You don't put a pot pie into the oven expecting to get out a pizza. You put a pot pie into the oven expecting to enjoy the deliciousness of that pot pie. Today, and I'm asking you this and I want to hear from you. Today, what are you putting into that oven of life? Are you feeling constricted? Are you feeling scared? Are you feeling alone? Are you feeling lost? Are you, so many people, there's a lot of challenges going on out there, but you can begin to cause something else right now, but it's up to each one of us. And it's the beauty of community. It's the beauty of picking up the phone and saying, I forgot the ingredients for a pot pie. I really want a pot pie and I forgot the ingredients of it. Can you help me out? I really want the experience of plenty, but I forgot the ingredients. Can you help me out? I forgot the ingredients to fulfilling relationships. Remind me of who I am and what's possible, would you? That's the beauty of friendships. That's what we talked about earlier. The beauty of somebody that's fanning your flame, lifting you up, affirming your goodness, reminding you of what's possible for you. It's also the beauty of our practitioner team, practitioners of truth everywhere, and our practitioner team here at Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert. Folks that are committed to reminding us the ingredients of life that we really want to live. Tasty, juicy, magnificent, where there's leftovers, and those leftovers are even tastier and juicier and more magnificent. Last paragraph. Right now, I move from fear to faith. I let go of all doubt, distrust, worry, and fear. I change the direction of my life by focusing my thoughts on God, by focusing my thoughts on good, by focusing my thoughts on possibility, on fulfillment, of real fulfilled expression. I change the direction of my life by focusing my thoughts on God, the life within me, everyone and everything. I have supreme faith in the power of God to still the troubled waters and make the crooked places straight. I have supreme faith in the power of God to still the troubled waters and make the crooked places straight. Maggie Hood, that's been me most of the year. What's been you? Can you specify a little bit? Been hard to remember the, yes, I for so many people, been hard to remember the ingredients. You have a community right here, a staff. Call the office, go to the website, reach out to a practitioner, people that are life-giving, to remind you of the ingredients to a life that you really want to live, a fulfilled life. Tracy, I read in I read this morning, and the two lines that I highlighted were, "It is the affirmation that makes all things possible to the one who believes in the power of God." And the second one was, "I have supreme faith in the power of God to still the troubled waters and make the crooked places straight." That's it. Supreme faith in life to still the troubled waters and make the crooked places straight. It doesn't matter if I'm a private. I see you, Maggie. Even though you're a practitioner, I've been a minister for over 20 years. We all need the reminder daily. We all need the reminder. I mean, if any of us, all of us, ought to have a practitioner of truth, someone that can remind us of the ingredients when we forget, someone that can be our Betty Crocker cookbook. We open those pages and we see, oh, that's what it takes to cook a pot pie. That's what it takes to cook a meatloaf. That's what it takes to cook chicken cacciatore, which was one of my favorite dishes my grandma ever made. I'd always ask, chicken cacciatore. Oh, that's the recipe. That's why we have cookbooks, to help us with things like that. The practitioner's a cookbook. The oven is the law. Jeff, how did we go down this rabbit hole? This is the Spirit just upon us today. We're in the kitchen. We're in the kitchen this morning, apparently. The oven is the law. A practitioner is the cookbook, reminding us of the ingredients that we want to put into that great law of life, knowing that the law responds to us. The oven only bakes what you put into it. Life responds to you with how you are about life. Your thinking. This is from Jeff. The people who achieve the most do not get there alone. They have a team to see the proper ingredients. A team, absolutely. I shared in a sermon I recently recorded, that Vince Lombardi is one of the greatest coaches in football. I know when I start talking sports, some of you go, oh my God, there goes Reverend Charles again. Anyway, he said, a team is what makes life work, a society work, a company work. The individual's best contribution to a team effort. And that's what we're up to. I'm going to read this last paragraph one more time. Right now, I move from fear to faith. I let go of all doubt, distrust, worry, and fear. I change the direction of my life. I change the direction of my life by focusing my thoughts on God, the life within me, within everyone and everything. I have supreme faith in the power of God, in the power of good, in the power of life, in the power that is alive within me. I have supreme faith that power will still the troubled waters and make the crooked places straight. Now, it's been a number of months where we can, the troubled waters and the crooked places have been highlighted at this point. I think to some extent we've all been exposed. Things aren't comfortable. But right now, we can change the direction of our lives by moving from fear to faith, to knowing that the law of life responds to me. By knowing that as I nurture and tend to my internal garden of my thinking and feeling and belief, the direction of my life will change. Today, Jeff put in there twice today. Move today from fear to faith. Today. Commercial time. Beyond Limits is starting Monday night. Everything that we're talking about, we're going to explore for the next 10 weeks. Mondays, 6 to 8:30 at the latest, probably 8 Pacific time. Exploring these ideas. homework to work on each week, a support system to empower you to change the direction of your life. And your life could be extraordinary right now, gang. It's not about, oh, Beyond Limits is only for me if I'm down in the dumps. If everything's going beautifully, there's always more beautiful. Every morning I wake up and look at those mountains. I experience a greater beauty. That's what this 10 weeks is going to be about. This, that we're exploring and doing it in a group setting together, to understand that we can change the direction of our life. Well, it's a fundamental, or Ernest Holmes says, change your thinking, change your life. Let's wake up together. We're all doing it. We're all waking up together. We're all waking up. No one's got it figured out. Trust me, I've hung around some of the most spiritually evolved people. Everybody is on the path of waking up. No one's exempt from the human condition. I don't care who you are. We're all doing it. And it's up to us to choose the life that we desire to experience. This is what Beyond Limits is going to be about. Monday nights, love offering basis. If you can share $50 a week and you want to, do it. $5 a week, and that's what you're moved to do it. Everybody's welcome. 20 hours over 10 weeks to change the direction of your life. Sounds pretty good to me. You can see on the screen there, 760-346-4649 to register, or cslpalmdesert.org. Call, go to the website, get involved. Let's do it. Somebody remind me, what was the topic of the day? What was that? The title of the essay? I just found it. I know that life responds to me. So here's the question. What are you going to generate today? To bring forth right out of life. What are you going to be up to today? To generate today. I know that life responds to me. More fulfilling relationships, a greater financial prosperity. Good comes to me from ways expected and unexpected. That my creative expression is alive and full and vital. That my body temple is healthy and well and whole. And that all of these things are true. So, as I've shared the last few weeks, you can get two birds with one stone right now. Call the center to register for Beyond Limits. Call the center because we continue to appreciate your financial support of our center and what we're up to with our daily programming. And that when we reopen, and we know it's going to be, we're getting closer. When the doors reopen, we're back to Sundays and in-person classes and all of those things, that this place is as vital as it's ever been. Joy, peace, acceptance, and love, says Maggie. Amen. Tracy says, joy-filled experience. Amen. This is what we're up to today. We appreciate your continued support of the center. We appreciate you calling the center to share your financial good, or going online. You can donate through our website, or sending an email to info@cslpalmdesert.org. This is Life on Love. It's been a good Friday. Jeff, what do you think? Anything to say to wrap it up? You want to jump in? One of the final words before we sign off here?
I just think that was real powerful. It continually reminds me that, we have to be monitoring, we have to be consciously aware of what we're thinking, because if we're, as you're saying, we want a pizza to come out of that oven, but we keep putting ingredients from our mind, the cause, that are not making that pizza, there's no way it's going to come out. It comes out something other than the pizza, and then we have to live that effect. And I think part of that that I kind of got from you is I have to take sole responsibility of that.
Yes.
And don't, it seems like the way to do that is that time in the morning to be quiet and listen to what's happening, write it down, and start. I start writing down things that lines or messages in my mind that are no longer serving me, and then rewrite them. So when it pops up, I'm thinking, well, oh no, wait a minute. I can do hard things.
That's right.
Right.
That's
These
right.
things are put in front of me for me, not against me. Silly things like that, but it makes a difference.
But that's the subtleties of living too, though. I mean, I love that idea. Wake up in the morning, write down the ingredients of your day. Just like a few people weighed in. Sometimes if we're going through a recipe, we have something to look at while we're cooking. How about the recipe for your day as you're going through your day? Something to look at.
And you said something, and I don't know if we put enough emphasis on this, but I look behind me, and if you see over my shoulder all those things hanging down there,
mm-hmm.
those have been mentors and experiences in my life, and there's probably, I don't know, probably 40 tags over there of me. And it's not about me. It's the point is find somebody who's already doing what you want to do, because they must already be thinking what you want to think. Because as you explained, if you ain't thinking it, you ain't getting it. Yep. Sorry, it's West Texas talk for you.
Yeah.
And then figure out what they're thinking. Hey, when you're doing this, what are you thinking about? And you're going, wow, that's really different. That's different than I am. Maybe I should instill that. Those are your practitioners, folks.
That's right. Those things that light us up, take us to the edge of ourselves, illuminate our thinking, and encourage us to think about life in a different way.
Yeah.
As Jeff did before we came on, I've got a new idea of a way to think about something now, based on a simple 3-minute conversation. So there you go. Call the center. Get a reminder of who you are. Call the center. Email us. We'll have a practitioner get back to you to remind you of the recipe for a successful and beautiful life. Jeff, it's been a great show. Appreciate your support and Swing Point Media. Have an extraordinary Friday. It's Super Bowl Sunday coming up.
Yes.
I know that some of us, again, our sports fans aren't. We love the commercials. All right. We love to just be entertained for 4 hours or so. Anyway, it's a national holiday for some of us. Anyway, have an extraordinary weekend. I'm with you all. My heart is with you all. I'm loving all of you. Again, if you need help, reach out. If you need to be reminded of the ingredients to a beautiful life, 760-346-4649. info@cslpalmdesert.org, or just go to cslpalmdesert.org and find us. Have an extraordinary weekend, a beautiful Friday. Remember your ingredients to extraordinary life. Much peace, much love. Make today the best day ever. We're out of here.